Before we delve into the research findings, whether the orientations of Candi, Prambanan, Borobudur, Pawon, and Mendu are related to astronomical events, religious beliefs, traditions, and calendars. Let us get to know more about the findings from our previous archaeoastronomical work in Thai ancient sites. Archaeoastronomy is the research to understand ancient astronomical systems embedded in written and unwritten records. It involves at least 3 related disciplines. They are 1. Astroarchaeology, which is the field methodology used to study orientations of ancient structures and religious sanctuaries. We normally travel to the actual locations to calculate their positions in relation to the positions of sunrise, sunset, Polaris, and other stars. We also collect geographical data from the vicinity to see if there are any potential obstacles that may restrict the view of the horizon. Observations are made from 3 a.m. to before sunrise and after sunset until we have completed star position measurements. 2. History of astronomy, which focuses on written evidence relating to astronomy wisdom, including calendars of ancient civilization, such as dates recorded in inscriptions, palm leaf manuscripts, and other documents. 3. Ethnoastronomy, which is the branch of astronomy, one of mankind's earliest sciences. Humans cannot preserve their species without a knowledge of astronomy, the cycle of day and night. This is because the orbits of sun, moon, and stars correspond to seasons, hunting, and agricultural activities. We therefore are interested in cultural practices related to celestial phenomena and try to find out why astronomy is connected to beliefs, traditions, and important rituals. Archaeoastronomical studies around the world conclude that the planning of cities and temples from both prehistoric and historic cultures used astronomical knowledge to set building orientations and determine the date and time for performing sacred and important rituals. Many sites have been discovered to be oriented toward solstices, equinoxes, the moon, or bright planets. However, in some cultures, the alignments are found to be set toward the positions of auspicious and beneficial stars. Architectural principles and forms, as seen in the layouts of cities and temples in many Thai ancient sites, were mainly influenced by Indian cultures since the Dvaravati and ancient Khmer eras, which spread to Southeast Asia through migration, trades, and religious dissemination, including Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana Buddhism, as well as Shaivism and Vaishnavism Hinduism. The orientations of historic sites and temples were integral to each era's architectural concepts, tightly interwoven with cultures, civilizations, beliefs, important rites, and communities' heritage. Brahmins, being royal scholars and architects who understand cycles and rhythms of nature, especially the appearances and the paths of the sun, moon, and stars, were able to integrate beliefs, traditions, and cultures. Have compiled a treatise for the construction of temples and cities in ancient towns known as the Vastu Shastra. It is one branch of Sthapatya Veda, a supplementary to Atharva Veda, one of Hinduism's 4 primary Vedas. According to Vastu Shastra, religious sites and cities are constructed in the same fashion, with the first step being to assess the site for auspiciousness and the soil for fertility. The word Vastu means a location, an environment, or a building, while Purusha represents the cosmic man or the creative mind of the universe. Mandala is a geometric configuration or a chart that represents the cosmos. The Vastu Purusha Mandala is a metaphysical diagram analogous to the plan of a building or a site, indicating energy and elemental circulation in the cosmos, where Earth is the center. Chiang Mai, the capital of the ancient Lanna Kingdom, is an example of a city that adheres to the Vastu Shastra principles written in the Brihat Samhita, which prescribes considerations for the selection of site, nakshatra, auspicious star, and directions. Chiang Mai's Vastu Purusha Mandala uses Paramasayika, the 9x9 or 81 square plan. The city's orientation is also found to be aligned with Orion's belt, which represents auspiciousness in agriculture. To build a palace, a village, or a temple, it is crucial to select from among the elite Brahmins a priest architect or guru who had a thorough knowledge of sacred Vedic texts. The Brahmin architect must be competent in his crafts and be well versed in astrology and astronomy, knowing the names, positions, and characteristics of stars, including lunar phases, lunar mansions, zodiac, months, years, and seasons. He must be able to recognize omens, predict a fortune, determine the most auspicious nakshatra, and recite the right incantations. All of these were the qualifications of a guru architect. Hence, the study of ancient sites and religious sanctuaries requires more than history and archaeology. There is also the Sthapatya Veda, which is related to Vedanga, auxiliary discipline of Jyotisha that studies astrology and astronomy. For the archaeoastronomical researchers to completely understand and correctly explain the orientation of an ancient site, they must also grasp astrology and astronomy. The History and Heritage in Astronomy Research Group at the National Astronomical Institute of Thailand has been pursuing archaeoastronomical research by investigating the orientations of ancient sites initially in Thailand and subsequently going further afield. Our principal hypothesis is that astronomy must have formed the core tenet in the founding of any ancient edifice. With this hypothesis, we have conducted field surveys at many ancient monuments, compiling the body of knowledge on Sthapatya Veda to help decipher the alignments. Our archaeoastronomy is the fusion of astronomy, spherical geometry in particular, computational physics, and astrology. The shifts in the position of stars relative to the vernal equinox due to precession allow us to trace back in time to when a star was used to align an ancient temple. This is one method to date an ancient temple. in addition to reading written dates on inscriptions and studying the art styles. Once we know whether a site is aligned to a star or the sun, we may get evidence for the time the site plan was laid down, the relevant deity, and the religion of the builder. Aside from using astronomy to date ancient sites, we also use the Surya Yatra, a treatise used to calculate the Saka and Jula Sakarat calendars, to convert inscription dates to Gregorian dates of the present calendar. There are currently many inscription dates that are incorrectly converted, and many that have not been converted or even impossible to convert. Accurate chronology gained from inscriptions is crucial for the study of history and archaeology. Hence, converting dates correctly is essential. Calendars fix the ending and beginning of the year differently. One system uses the full moon in Kritika lunar month, known today as Loi Krathong Day. Another system uses the first waxing moon day in Chitra lunar month to celebrate the beginning, but marks a new calendar year on the day the sun enters Aries, nowadays known as Thaleng Sok Payawan Day. The Lanka Buddhist calendar sets the full moon in Vaisakha lunar month or Vesak as the New Year's Day, which we believe commemorates the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. The studies by the Archaeoastronomical Research Group has opened up a new dimension for archaeological research in Thailand. By using astronomy in the study of site orientations, we have discovered the connection between the direction of an entrance structure and the deity or star in many ancient monuments. Temples whose ground plans are aligned for Lanka Buddhist calendar's New Year are Prasat Suthep Temple and Suphan Temple. We have found that Prasat Suthep Temple was designed to align with Corona Borealis, an asterism known to Lana people as Dao Khop Dong, a winnowing basket-rimmed star that marks Vesak, the day of birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha. Vesak was once used as New Year's Day in the Lanka Buddhist calendar in ancient Thailand. Ancient monuments that are oriented to a reference star for a new year on Thaleng Sok Songkran Day include Prasat Phanom Rung in Buriram, Prasat Panomwan in Nakhon Ratchasima, Mahathat Temple in Sukhothai, Mahathat Woramahawihan in Nakhon Si Thammarat, and Phra Pathom Chedi in Nakhon Pathom Province. A monument that is oriented to a reference star for a new year on Loi Krathong Day is Prasat Phimai. The sanctuary's easterly azimuth matches the Pleiades, but the westerly azimuth matches the peacock, an alignment to a traditional Mon constellation at the top of Scorpio. It had been likely designed as Mon-Buddhist sanctuary, but was altered to reflect the art and architecture of the Khmer conqueror. Is there a temple that is oriented to the sun on solstices and equinoxes? The answer is yes. Most temples in Siem Riep, except those built by King Jayavarman VII, are true east-oriented. As the Vedic knowledge has declined in Thailand and the adherence to Sthapatya Veda is no longer practiced in Theravada Buddhism. Later temples are either true east-oriented or face transportation routes such as a river or a road. We are often asked why the foundation date of an ancient site using archaeoastronomy is older than the date from architecture analysis. Our answer is that the date of the ancient site obtained by archaeoastronomy reflects the time when the temple was first built, which is likely to be older or equal to the date assessed by art historians. Humans can modify art, thus confusing the art historian, but the movement of the sun, moon, or stars cannot be modified. After conducting archaeoastronomical studies in Thailand, we now take our survey further afield. We shall solve the mystery of the orientations of 4 ancient sites in Indonesia, find out if and how they are related to astronomical phenomena, beliefs, traditions, and calendars. After the research team had gathered all data from the field surveys and from experts in astronomy history, ethnoastronomy, and astrology, in collaboration with the Indonesian researchers, the following results are the azimuths calculated by Dr. Chertsak Sally. And finally, Orapin Riya Prao will attempt to unlock the hidden mystery of the orientation created by the Brahmins, with all the help from our team mentors, experts, and scholars in almost every branch of knowledge. Let us explain the results from ancient sites in the Borobudur Temple Compound, starting with the orientation of Candi Bawon. Although we could not use the theodolite camera to measure azimuth, results from basic instruments coupled with the study by the Indonesian scholars were sufficient for drawing a preliminary conclusion. Candi Bawon was east-west inclined, having azimuth between 105 and 106 degrees, equivalent to deviating southward from true east by 15 to 16 degrees. This alignment corresponds to the acronical rising of Scorpio's head during sunset from the late 8th to the early 9th century. This finding is quite surprising for us because the same asterism was also used in the alignments of important temples of the ancient Hariphunchai kingdom in present-day Lamphun province, northern Thailand. The head of Scorpio is one of the 3 asterisms recorded in ancient star charts to reference Vaisakha Nakshatra. Furthermore, for the alignment using Vaisakha star, allowable directions for the entrance gate according to Yajurveda are the east, west, and south. Candi Bawon's entrance is on the west, while other temples of Hariphunchai kingdom are found facing east, west, and south. We have collected information on ancient star charts in Thailand and discovered that there are 3 asterisms that were used as Vaisakha Nakshatra stars. The first asterism is Corona Borealis, which was used in Chiang Mai, the former capital of Lanna Kingdom. The orientation of Phra That Hariphunchai Temple corresponds to the acronical rising of Corona Borealis during sunset, around April from the middle to late 16th century. Primary and secondary sources also support the founding day to be Vesak. Furthermore, the long tradition of annual pilgrimage up the mountain to worship the temple on Vesak corroborates the finding. The second asterism is the head of Scorpio. We do not know where the use of this asterism originated from, but because Ursa Major was used instead of Polaris, we hypothesize that the method could have originated in the southern hemisphere where Polaris is not visible. Nevertheless, we found the use of the second asterism in Lamphun province, which was once the center of Hariphunchai, a kingdom established by the Mon people, who called this asterism the peacock. Ancient temples whose orientations were aligned with the peacock are Phra That Hariphunchai Temple, Phrakong Ruesi Temple, Sangkaram or Pratu Li Temple, and Phra Yeun Temple, all in Lamphun province. And the third asterism is Libra, which was commonly used in southern India. The ancient temple found to align with this asterism is Khao Klang Ngai in Suthep Historical Park, Phetchabun province. The intentional alignment of Chandi Bawon with the head of Scorpio or the peacock asterism, the Mon people's Vaisakha Nakshatra, commemorating the birth, enlightenment, and death of the Buddha, led us to question the connection between the two religious monuments, one in Java, Indonesia, and another in Lamphun province, Thailand. More research is needed. Will the orientation of Chandi Mendut surprise us as much as Chandi Bawon? The result will be presented next. Due to time constraints, we unfortunately could not get a precise measurement of the azimuth with a theodolite camera. We relied on our basic tools and the studies by Indonesian scholars to draw a preliminary conclusion that Chandi Mendut was east-west oriented with actual azimuth between 119 and 120 degrees, deviating southward from true east by 29 to 30 degrees. The azimuth of the main entrance on the west facade, therefore, falls between 299 and 300 degrees. This orientation corresponds to the economical rising of Ashada Nakshatra around the late 8th to early 9th century. This finding indicates that Chandi Mendut is related to Asalha Puja, the sacred day in Buddhism, set on the full moon in the Thai 8th lunar month, when the moon is in Ashada Nakshatra. Asalha Puja is shortened from Asalha Purnima Puja, which means a worship on Ashada full moon day. Important events happened on this day, and they are: 1. It is the first time the Buddha revealed his dispensation to the world. 2. The Buddha gave his first sermon, Dhammacakappa Vatana Sutta, to the 5 ascetics, Kondanya, Vappa, Patiya, Asachi, and Mahanama. 3. After listening to the first sermon and gaining an insight into Dharma, Kondanya became the first Arahant who asked permission from the Buddha to be ordained and became the first Buddhist monk. 4. It is the first day that the triple gems or the three Ratna which are the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha or monk, was constituted. The orientation of Candi Mendut is similar to that of the ancient city Wiang The Kan, once a part of Hariphunchai Kingdom and now is in Chiang Mai province. The city's orientation toward the acronical rising of a reference star for Uttara Ashada Nakshatra led us to believe that Wiang The Kan symbolized Sarnath, the place of the first sermon, one of the 4 holy places for Buddhist worship. Candi Mendut may have been built to stand for the place of the first sermon. Our hearts raced with excitement at the discovery. Present-day Wiang The Kan has neither building nor a Buddha image left for us to study. On the other hand, here at the base of the central Buddha image, there is a bas-relief showing a crouching deer and the wheel of Dhamma or Dhammachakra, doubling the Buddha's sermon posture and a Dhammachakra mudra gesture. We thought that discovering the connection between Mendut's orientation and the auspicious star is intriguing, but now we find a monument that models a Buddhist sacred site, linked not only by an auspicious star, but also in the depiction of the Buddha's posture and gesture. Had we not come here, we would not know. The orientations of Candi Pavon and Candi Mendut led us to speculate that Borobudur may have been oriented to a fixed star as well. Here we were allowed to use a theodolite. We measured horizontal and vertical angles of a star every minute and compared its stellarium position in azimuth and altitude. The difference used the Borobudur's east side azimuth of 90.09 plus or minus 0.01 degrees, and for the west side we got 269.88 plus or minus 0.01 degrees. As a result, the Borobudur is aligned with the east-west axis, implying the use of the sun-shadow method to orient the Grand Stupa. There are many locations in Indonesia where the same method was practiced. However, Orapin was puzzled by the result. The monument should not be east-oriented, but should be off by 3 degrees in either direction to align the structure with the rising or setting of Orion's belt, also known as the plough asterism. In her studies of Thai cities and temples, whose constructions are based on Vastupurusha mandala, especially in Mahayana tradition, there is no religious monument that is aligned with the true east. One example is a study of Chiang Mai city's orientation by 10th grade students from the science program, Chiang Mai University Demonstration School, asking whether the city's deviation southward 2.5 degrees from true east is due to an error in the sun-shadow method or intentional alignment with an auspicious star. These students learned the practice of sun-shadow method and were able to achieve true east within 0.5 degrees. Hence, the east precision achieved by the competent Brahmin trusted by the king to plan the city must be spot on. The instructor demonstrated a sun-shadow method practice at the city wall. True east was achieved. Together, the instructor and students utilized a theodolite to discover that Chiang Mai is aligned with the plough, more specifically Mintaga, which rises first. Apart from Chiang Mai city, there are other ancient cities built on the square mandala form, including Mandalay, Sukhothai, Angkor Thom, and Khao Klang Nok in Suthep Historical Park. These places are aligned with either the rising or setting of the plough, depending on how the new day is defined. If midnight is the start of a new day, the rising plough in the evening is used. If morning is the start, the setting plough is used. Nonetheless, Orapin's assumption is not entirely wrong. Thai researchers are accustomed to stars of the northern hemisphere. These stars trace paths that incline to the south. However, Borobudur is in the southern hemisphere, where star paths incline to the north. With this realization, we set stellarium to show a sky in the year the Grand Stupa was built, and found that the Borobudur's azimuth corresponded to the position of Mintaka, the first star in the Orion's belt, which rose from the surrounding mountains. Therefore, Borobudur may have been oriented to the true east, either using the sun shadow method or by aligning with the plough. Among all the stars in the sky, which ones are considered auspicious? And why should Borobudur be aligned to the plough? According to Vastu Shastra, an auspicious star is a prominent star in its Rashi, zodiac constellation, or nakshatra, lunar mansion. Furthermore, that star should be useful in lunisolar intercalation work. The question is about calendars. The answer will have to come from Indonesian calendar experts. In addition to the field work we carried out at dawn and dusk, we spent the day exchanging archaeoastronomical knowledge to academics and students from Gadjah Mada University, as well as experts in astronomy, history, archaeology, Javanese calendar, and Balinese calendar, who came to this forum from various institutions. One important topic was the use of calendars in ancient Java and Bali. The Indonesian experts explained that Indonesia had used the Sagak calendar that divides the ecliptic into either 12 rachis or 27 nakshatras. Thai people used it too. The Balinese New Year's Day is marked by the full moon in Chitra, or the 5th lunar month when the full moon appears with Spica. But the Javanese New Year's Day is marked by the full moon in Kritika, the day the full moon is with the Pleiades. Why is Borobudur not aligned with the Pleiades, but instead with Orion's belt? Could the asterism have marked New Year's Day too? The answer came from the research work by Lars and A., who found evidence in the agricultural calendar of ancient Indonesians that used the rising and setting of the plough to mark annual agricultural activities. The heliacal rising of the plough during the summer solstice marked the beginning of harvest. Many regions in Indonesia used this event to adjust the lunar calendar to match the seasons. Therefore, the day was often made the first day of the year. Consequently, the plough is also a New Year asterism.
Yo
Borobudur may not be allied with the Pleiades, but it could still be allied with the full moon in the Javanese New Year month of Kritika. It is also possible that the plough may have been a reference asterism for the full moon in Kritika, the Javanese New Year's Day. This is because some lunar calendar systems used the next full moon to mark the end of the lunar month. Hence, the full moon in Kritika month may not have relied on the Pleiades, but on the plough instead. If the axis is aligned with the star of New Year's Day, would the proportions of sacred buildings have any relationship to astronomical events or variables used in calendar calculation? What implication might there be for Borobudur's design? From above, the monument is a cosmic mandala, as Mount Meru is the abode for the Buddha and the enlightened Bodhisattva. Borobudur Central Stupa, surrounded by 72 smaller stupas, is reminiscent of Dhammacakka, or the Wheel of Dharma, the earlier symbol of Buddhism. It signifies the Buddha's first sermon, Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, when he first introduced Buddhism to the 5 ascetics. This is consistent with the Karangtenga inscription, which describes the arrangement of stupas, each housing a Buddha statue, creating a figure of the Dharma wheel around the central stupa in 3 concentric circles. The 3 circular platforms may be related to the tenet of Tibetan Vajrayana Buddhism, that the Buddha turned the Dharma wheel 3 times. The first was at Sarnath in Varanasi with Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. The second was at Vulture Peak, where he preached Prajya Paramita. The third was at Danyakataka, where he taught Sandhi Niramochana Sutra. Reflecting this tradition of the Vajrayana cosmic mandala, the oldest, built around 775 CE, can be found in Samye Monastery in Tibet. It is a square-shaped mandala enclosed by a circular wall to represent a cosmic landscape. The figure later appeared in Borobudur and other ancient kingdoms that adopted Mahayana Buddhism, including Hinduism religious sites. Buddhism regards a lotus, being between earth and water, as the seat of the cosmos. The lotus throne is common for statues of Buddha, Bodhisattva, and deities in various postures. Dr. Hari Setyavan informs us that Borobudur once stood in the middle of a pond, which had disappeared. The mandala at Borobudur was designed to resemble the Dharma wheel. The central principal stupa represents time. The smaller stupas are set on 3 cascaded circular platforms, 16 stupas on the innermost, 24 on the middle, and 32 on the outermost platform. From an archaeoastronomical perspective, 16 may represent the 16 spokes, symbolizing the daily orbit of the sun, where day and night are each split into 8 intervals. 24 may come from the yearly path of the sun through 12 zodiac constellations, with the sun god's 12 pairs of wheels. Another meaning is the number of yearly pakshas, or fortnights. Each lunar month has 2 fortnights, making 24 fortnights in the year. 32 may come from the monthly path of the moon through the nakshatras. 32 is the sum of 4 and 28, where 4 is the 4 gods who ruled the planets that influence the equinoxes and solstices, also known as the cardinal points. 28 is the 28 regions of nakshatras. All 32 represent the positions of ruling deities according to Yajurveda, which require temple's orientation and prime entrance direction to conform to the deities. Some Vedic treatises regard Orion's belt as Kala, the lord of time in Hinduism and Tantric Buddhism. Kala means time, devourer of all creatures, including himself. We found many bas reliefs of Kala at Chandi, Prambanan, and Borobudur. Is it possible that Chandi Prambanan was oriented to Orion's belt too? The researchers recorded the horizontal and vertical angle readings of each star from a theodolite once every minute. They then compared the same star's azimuth and altitude in stellarium. The resultant azimuth of the axis from Suphan Temple to Nandi Shrine is 90.4 plus or minus 0.2 degrees. We found that Prambanan was as oriented to the true east as Borobudur, possibly using the sun shadow method or the rising of Mintaka. This is a calculation based on present-day platform. Indonesian authority confirmed that even after an earthquake, the restoration was done on the existing platform. We previously described the connection between Orion's belt or the plough and Kritika full moon day. We are curious that if the builder intended to align Prambanan's east to Orion's belt rising, what could have been the relationship between Orion's belt and Shiva, the consecrated image of this temple? A temple must be related to the 28 nakshatras, the equinoxes and solstices, and also the temple's consecrated image. We need to learn more about Orion's star laws in Oriental astronomy. 2 well-known asterisms have been used throughout the ages to tell time. One is the Big Dipper, known as the crocodile in Thai tradition and the great elephant in Lana tradition. The other is Orion, or the turtle in Thailand, whose belt is the plough in both Thailand and Indonesia. Timekeeping with Orion is well known to every civilization because of the 3-star lineup in the belt asterism that remains unchanged for thousands of years. Orion's belt or the plough is Ardra, the 6th of 27 nakshatras. Students of star charts may be surprised because Indian astronomy gives the 6th nakshatra to Betelgeuse, but we did not find any reference to this star in Java. Instead, We found that the alignments of Chandi Pawon and Chandi Mendut conformed to the second star group used in Hariphunchai Kingdom in present-day Lamphun province of Thailand. In this second star group, the reference star for Ardra is different from the third star group common in South India, which take Betelgeuse as Ardra Nakshatra, despite showing the figures of Orion's belt and sword. Ardra is governed by Buddha in all 4 sections. Rudra is its ruling god. Rudra later became Shiva in Vedic period. The name Ardra means moist or wet. For North India, the sun in Ardra is the time of Ambuvaji, the interval between the end of summer and the beginning of rainy season, when Mother Earth is having her period. At the heliacal rising of Ardra, the earth is supposed to be unclean, and agriculture is prohibited until after 4 days. Then Mother Earth is ready to bear seeds. This is consistent with ancient calendars that use the nakshatra's heliacal rising to mark planting season. Furthermore, Orion is the image of Shiva Nataraja in the sky. The connection between Nataraja and archaeoastronomy can be seen from the Aludra festival or Aruttara Darishanam in Tamil Nadu. The festival is a 10-day celebration in December when the moon enters Ardra, which is associated with the wrathful aspect of Shiva, the Nataraja, or Kuttan in Tamil, comparable to Kuttu, which means Orion in Malayalam language of Kerala. Tamil Nadu and Kerala used to belong to Pandya kingdom that ruled South India between the 6th and 10th centuries and the 13th and 14th centuries. The heliacal rising of Ardra marks the beginning of planting season in ancient times. Orion covers 2 nakshatras, which are Marigashirasha, where vernal equinox occur in ancient Vedic time, and Ardra, whose heliacal rising was the starting point for the annual cultivation in ancient Java. The 2 nakshatras are related as told in one legend of Shiva. Sandhya, the daughter of Brahma, was married to Shiva. One day, Brahma fell for Sandhya's charm and started to chase after her. When Sandhya saw Brahma approaching, she transformed herself into a dove and leapt up to the sky. Brahma transformed into a buck and went after her. When Shiva saw that his wife was being chased, he shot an arrow at the buck, cutting off its head. Brahma then returned to his original form and prostrated to Shiva. To this day, Shiva's arrow is still hanging in the sky as Ardra, while the deer's head is also there in Marigashirasha. As a result, Prambanan may have been oriented to Orion's belt, which is related to the story of Shiva, especially Shiva Nataraja. We also found that summer solstice alignment may have been a factor in the design of the temple. We discovered that the last light on summer solstice shone into the innermost corner of Nandi Temple, which agrees with the research of our beloved mentor, Associate Professor Samay Yod Intra, who passed on his archaeoastronomical knowledge to our principal researchers. Professor Samay found that inner walls of religious sites were often marked to coincide with the first or the last light of summer solstice and winter solstice to aid intercalation that makes lunar calendar conform to the seasons. At Prambanan, we also found the relationship between the last light of summer solstice and Nandi Temple.
แล้ววันนี้อาจารย์ค้นพบอะไรที่ดูน่าสนใจบ้างคะ
ที่ตื่นเต้นที่สุดก็คือว่าเราพบว่าลำแสงวันนี้มันเป็นวันที่พระอาทิตย์ขึ้นเหนือสุดนะคะเราเห็นว่าในปราสาทข้างหน้าเนี่ยซึ่งเป็นปราสาทที่เป็นพาหนะเนาะของแต่ละองค์เทพมหาเทพนะทั้ง3นะคะวันที่ตอนที่พระอาทิตย์ขึ้นตอนเช้าเนี่ยเราไม่ทันได้สังเกตเนื่องจากว่าเขาไม่ได้อนุญาตให้เราเข้าไปข้างในแต่เมื่อตอนเย็นเมื่อกี้นะคะตอนที่พระอาทิตย์ตกเนี่ยเราได้มีโอกาสเข้าไปตรงปราสาทตรงกลางตรงปราสาทของโคนนทีเนี่ยเราจะเห็นลำแสงตรงช่องประตูข้างในเลยตรงช่องเลยตอนแรกก็จะใหญ่เนาะค่ะหนาค่ะแล้วพอพระอาทิตย์ใกล้ๆจะตกดินมันก็จะเป็นลำแสงเส้นแบบขนานกับขอบข้างในเลยซึ่งตรงนี้อาจารย์สมัยยอดอินท่านก็เคยเขียนไว้ว่าโบราณสถานสมัยก่อนเนี่ยมันจะมีลำแสงพระอาทิตย์เพื่อจะเช็คตอนที่พระอาทิตย์ขึ้นเหนือสุดกับใต้สุดไว้ตรงขอบข้างในเลยอาคารข้างในสุดซึ่งวันนี้เราได้เห็นกับตาว่าทฤษฎีของท่านอาจารย์สมัยยอดอินน่ะถูกต้องแล้วก็เป็นจริงวันนี้ก็เลยตื่นเต้นพอสมควรค่ะ
โอเคตัวอาจารย์ตื้นตันมากวันนี้
ตื้นตันค่ะ
This research expedition has led to our discovery that to build a temple, you need more than to orient your temple to an auspicious star related to a Buddhist or Hindu holy day, or to the 4 cardinal events in the solar calendar. The design is more complex, with meanings interrelated, taking into account the location of the principal structure, the Vastu Purusha Mandala, the direction of the main entrance, and building proportions. The monuments are clear evidence of humanity's high intellectual achievements in astronomy, mathematics, architecture, paintings, and sculptures, despite limited resources. Although we are better equipped, what we conceive and create cannot match the great masters of ancient times. We truly respect them. Our knowledge today is minuscule, but we will tirelessly continue to learn and research their works. These findings have brought the research team immense joy and smiles. Our devotion has paid off with invaluable results. Indonesia and Thailand are separated by an expansive sea, but we have so much in common. This is because in the past, Southeast Asian cultures shared the same roots. This research is a pilot work that we believe will benefit future studies in all related academic disciplines. Here, we reveal the astonishing wisdom of ancient builders who worked systematically more than 1,000 years ago. This knowledge will be an important step towards expanding the boundary of archaeology studies in Thailand, and Southeast Asia, with our method which makes use of every branch of science to truly understand the ancients. This expedition by the History and Heritage of Astronomy Research Group from NARIT represents a research collaboration between Thailand and Indonesia in the field of archaeoastronomy. These findings are the starting point of an important mission to uncover the wisdom of archaeoastronomy in ancient kingdoms of Thailand and Indonesia. From then on, we will expand our collaboration to other countries in Southeast Asia. Archaeoastronomy research seamlessly and tangibly connects science, social science, and anthropology. The results of our studies in temple alignments have revealed the ancients' genuine proficiency in science, particularly astronomy, as part of their vernacular wisdom. We will disseminate these findings to students and scholars in related fields. We emphasize future generations so that they will recognize, be proud of their heritage, and be instrumental in the continuous preservation of ancient monuments of Southeast Asia.
ขอนน้อ